from someone once considered the most expensive flop in football history. Dropped by Barcelona from their Champions League squad because of poor discipline.
Ousmane has told Dembele that he is to find a new club, basically. That's why he wasn't selected for tonight's game. He said, we've told him and his agents that they should leave immediately because we want players that are committed to this project.
To the 2024-25 Ballon d'Or winner. "35 goals, 16 assists, leading PSG to their first ever Champions League title in history, topping the entire League One scoring charts. Simply put, nobody can stop him from getting his hands on the Ballon d'Or. And now he stands at the doorstep of history. Once again, May 30th, 2026, Budapest, Puskás Arena, PSG versus Arsenal, Champions League final, the biggest match in club football. And what if PSG win that trophy again?
MVP! 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 MVP!
The moment PSG reach the summit of glory, the Ballon d'Or, will be impossible to take away from Ousmane Dembélé. This is no longer just the boundary of an individual award. This is the moment we stand before a witnessed history. A man writing the very first lines that could redefine the map of modern football.
We all been saying that in France for a very long time, is if Ousmane can finish what he starts, he will be one, if not the best player in the world. And that's what he's doing only now.
From Chelsea and Liverpool to the giant Bayern Munich, all tried to break his momentum, only to realise they were merely brushstrokes decorating the fairy tale called Dembélé. Now comes Arsenal. Pretty great, but are they truly strong enough to stop him? Or will they become the next a victim written into this chronicle?
Ousmane Ballon d'Or, Ousmane Ballon d'Or.
Throughout his years at Barcelona, Ousmane Dembélé was constantly labelled a PlayStation player, the kind of phrase people use for someone whose speed and dribbling skills look so absurdly unreal that they seem impossible. And clearly, that madness never disappeared.
Well defended by Barcelona on that occasion, and the trick of Munir who got back, and here's Dembélé. Some danger here. Still Dembélé with this big pace. Still Dembélé, and Barcelona lead.
Nobody can deny that. But the thing that transformed the Dembélé of the 2025-2026 season into a completely different monster, playing football on an entirely new level, is the instinct that Luis Enrique managed to unlock inside him. Throughout most of his career, Dembélé was nailed into the role of a pure winger, hugging the right flank, cutting inside and creating chances. Entertaining, dangerous, but gradually becoming predictable. Luis Enrique dared to do what his predecessors were always hesitant to attempt, moving Dembélé into central areas to operate as a false nine. Not because Dembélé had transformed into a classic striker, but because within PSG's spatial rotation system, floaters and anchors, his position in the centre becomes an unsolvable equation for every defence.
And in this role, obviously he's not a player to bulldoze centre-backs. Instead, what he did so well was rotate with other players and drop into pockets around the back line. And in these areas, Dembélé is incredibly dangerous because he has the speed to race in behind back lines and get on the end of early crosses, but he's also got the technical ability to receive the ball, take a defender on and carve out a shooting opportunity for himself.
When Dembélé dominates the central channel, opposing centre-backs are trapped in a dilemma. Should they step out and follow him? If they do, massive spaces instantly open up for Kvaratskhelia and Desiree Doué to tear apart. If they do not, Dembélé can comfortably receive the ball, turn, and with his perfectly balanced two-footed ability, bury the ball into any corner imaginable. That is not a football situation. It is a death equation with no answer. And the statistics, numbers never lie, and they confirm everything. He is not only the finisher, he is the origin point. He is not only the creator, he is the one deciding matches himself. 2 roles, 1 entity, everything converging into the same human being. There is one quality commentators constantly mention, but very few truly explain the terrifying reality behind it. Dembele is genuinely two-footed, not in the sense of occasionally using the weaker foot to survive, but in an almost extreme state of perfect balance. He resembles an anomaly, a magnificent creature born from the laboratory of modern football.
Dembele spells further danger like this for Stuttgart. Dembele, brilliant.
That pushes defenders into a paradox. Against Dembele, there is no blind side on the pitch. Against a normal winger, you simply block the inside lane, force them wide, and make them suffer on their weak foot. Job done. But against Dembele, the concept of a weak foot ceases to exist. There is no safe angle, no logical direction to show him toward.
Ousmane Dembélé was one of the craziest natural talents, because he was shooting free kicks with the left, shooting corners with the left, going to the other corners, doing the in-swing with the right, going to penalties, shooting with left, shooting with the right, dribbling, running, passing. That was like really like on a highest level with 18 years, where you cannot, where your development is clearly not finished.
But that destructive machine was not born from a flawless blueprint. It was forged and reborn from the ashes of failure.
For Malcolm, hasn't had too many of them this season, and straight away problems here for Ousmane Dembélé. This is worrying so early in the game.
But let us be fair to history, because every fairy tale needs a brutally honest context. In 2017, Barcelona threw €148 million into the transfer market for Dembele's signature, a world record fee at the time. The entire world expected him to fill the void left by Neymar, perhaps even inherit the throne of Lionel Messi. But what did he actually deliver? Not just endless injuries, there were also late arrivals to training, an undisciplined lifestyle, and terrible nutrition habits. Spanish media treated him like easy prey to tear apart every single week. Then he arrived at PSG in 2023. His first season ended with only 3 League One goals, 3 goals for a sky-high salary. And the peak of the disappointment came in October 2024. PSG removed him from their Champions League squad. The reason? Once again, the ghost of discipline. Discipline. Again, discipline. A recurring cycle that seemed impossible to escape. At that moment, most stars would have chosen to collapse. Usually, that is where the chronicle of a wonder kid who burned out too early officially ends with a cruel full stop. But Dembele refused to write that kind of ending. December 2024, a private conversation took place between Luis Enrique and Ousmane Dembélé. The exact details remain a mystery, but the outcome has left the football world stunned. Enrique moved Dembélé into central areas, granted him the ultimate freedom of a roaming attacker, and left him with one simple statement: I trust you. And Dembélé, since January 2025, that was the birth of a monster.
Dembele does it again! It's a brilliant hat-trick!
He scored in all 6 opening matches of 2025. Even more terrifying, he produced 2 hat-tricks within a single week. One destroying VfB Stuttgart in the Champions League, another crushing Stade Brestois 29 in League One. Want to know the last time a player achieved something insane? Let me save you the time. Modern football history has never seen a precedent like this. Dembélé is no longer a normal footballer. He is a new concept that football textbooks have not yet managed to define. His identity is this: systemizing chaos. Inside Luis Enrique's a floaters and anchors structure, Dembele is the supreme free-moving nucleus. Operating at the centre of the attack, he possesses the ultimate privilege to programme the match in 4 different ways. Either dragging centre-backs away to create space for Kvaratskhelia, or dropping deep as a playmaker, or combining quickly before exploding behind the defensive line, or staying fixed to receive a long pass and finish first time. Facing Dembele means facing a 4-variable maze within the same moment. No defender's brain in the world possesses enough processing power to decode it. Next comes his first touch finishing ability, the secret weapon that Luis Enrique has unlocked inside him. The fundamental difference between the PSG version of Dembélé and the ghost that once haunted Camp Nou lies in one craft: first touch finishing. At Barcelona, he always took 1 or 2 touches to a fatal habit that usually ended with him losing possession or narrowing his own shooting angle. But now, the ball arrives. Boom! No favourable angle needed, no unnecessary control touch. He swings his leg as if he had foreseen the trajectory of the ball from miles away. That is absolutely not the blessing of luck. It is the product of elite football intelligence sharpened through thousands of hours of suffering and repetition in the shadows.
And I think he's the best player this season by a long term, and I think he deserves to win everything because he gave everything to the team, and the team is going to achieve trophies, that which is the most important thing for a club.
A different player. That is how his manager describes him, as though he was some unclassified lifeform. And he is not wrong. Pause here for a moment and look directly at the essence of it. Football has an old saying: stats are for losers. Beautiful numbers in meaningless matches hold no real value. True greatness is decided by one thing: what can you do when the entire world is watching? And Dembélé, under the brightest spotlight of all, just look at the way he dominates it. 7 goals in Champions League knockout battles, 1 season, 1 entity standing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Behind that number lies a shocking truth. The 2 gods of modern football achieved that feat when they had the world at their feet, at the absolute peak of their careers. Meanwhile, Dembélé perfected it at the age of 29, the age when most people thought he had already faded away after a decade-long war against a glass and the ghosts of discipline.
Crown him, crown him, crown him. Ousmane Dembélé is back and back in full effect. Look at this in terms of a clinical edge. 10 shots on target, 7 goals. Oh yeah, the flowers to the king deserves to be given all the way through.
That is exactly why, based on everything we have analysed, Dembélé can and should win the 2026 Ballon d'Or if PSG win the Champions League. Let us begin with his extraordinary per-minute efficiency. Here is the number I want you to remember. This season, Dembélé was voted League 1 Player of the Year despite making only 10 starts. 10 starts! The players leading the scoring charts needed almost twice as many minutes per goal compared to Dembélé. If he possessed the physical durability to play relentlessly week after week, he would dominate the League 1 Golden Boot race with an unimaginable gap. That greatness becomes even clearer when we examine his direct competitors, because nobody else possesses a package of trophies like him. Look at Lamine Yamal, the 18-year-old genius who finished runner-up last year. But Barcelona did not win the Champions League, and La Liga alone will not be enough to balance the scale. He lacks that one defining major title. Kylian Mbappé scored 43 goals last season for Real Madrid, but his team was swept aside in Europe, and this season clearly does not belong to him. Michael Olise and Harry Kane enjoyed explosive, unstoppable seasons at Bayern Munich, but we all know exactly who eliminated them from the Champions League. And Dembélé. League 1 is already secured, the Champions League final is right around the corner. The individual numbers are exploding, and his mentality in decisive matches is beyond debate. If PSG reach the summit of Europe on May 30th, the football world will be forced to admit one truth: nobody possesses the same complete perfection as him. Nobody. Behind the trophies and statistics lies something invisible that no statistical measurement can ever truly capture. But you can feel it instantly when you look into his eyes and watch every movement he makes on the pitch. Dembélé is playing football like a man desperate to prove something to the world. He does not play with the mindset of a superstar, casually waiting to receive the Ballon d'Or. He fights as though he is still an outsider trying to validate his worth. as if every match is a furious response sent toward everyone who once doubted him, and every goal buried into the back of the net is a letter written back to the past, to the teenager who once endured endless ridicule in Barcelona.
Après, Ousmane, je sais pas si c'est objectif ou non, j'ai toujours été très excité à l'idée de jouer avec lui. Ça fait des années, mais encore plus quand tu vois sa forme actuelle. Je pense que c'est une arme vraiment importante pour nous permettre d'accomplir nos objectifs. Donc on va essayer de le mettre dans les meilleures conditions pour qu'il puisse réaliser ce qu'il fait en club ici aussi. Parce que si on a un Ousmane qui est aussi bon qu'au PSG, on va gagner des matchs.
This milestone becomes even more significant when viewed through the lens of history. Dembélé would become the first French player to win back-to-back Ballon d'Or titles in the modern era if he triumphs again in 2026. Looking back at the list of French winners, Raymond Kopa, 1958, Michel Platini, 3 consecutive titles from 1983-85, Zinedine Zidane, 1998, 2000, 2003, Karim Benzema, 2022, and Dembélé himself, 2025. None of them achieved it in the modern era. If he succeeds, it would unquestionably become a historic event for French football. Nothing less. And there is one final truth nobody wants to admit, yet everyone knows it always exists. The Ballon d'Or voting panel, made up of 100 top sports journalists from 100 countries, has always been fascinated by redemption stories. They love heroes who overcome adversity to restore order. Karim Benzema won in 2022 after years of exile from the French national team. Luka Modric conquered the award in 2018 after single-handedly breaking the decade-long monopoly of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. And now, that same narrative is calling Dembélé's name. An extraordinary journey from the label of a €148 million disappointment to becoming the leader driving PSG toward a second consecutive Champions League title. It is a story almost too perfect, a kind of aura that alone could blow wide open the doors to the Ballon d'Or. And this is the million-dollar question. The question nobody dares to openly ask right now. Could Ousmane Dembélé begin a dominant era similar to the one Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi once created? I will not give you a biased answer. Instead, I want you to clearly see both sides of the coin so you can make your own decision. Let us first look at the bright side, the reasons why this crazy possibility could absolutely happen. The first factor lies in the age of 29. In modern football, where nutrition and sports science have redefined the limits of the human body, 29 is no longer the beginning of decline. It is often the absolute peak of a player's powers. Remember that both Ronaldo and Messi collected multiple Ballon d'Or titles after surpassing this age. The second factor is the biggest football festival on the planet. The 2026 World Cup in the United States is approaching rapidly. The France enter the tournament as one of the leading favourites to win it all, and Didier Deschamps has chosen Dembélé as the nucleus, the central brain of the entire attacking system for Les Bleus. If France reach the summit of the world with a brilliant Dembélé, a third consecutive Ballon d'Or would almost automatically belong to him. The third factor lies within PSG itself, as a super project that keeps growing stronger with no signs of slowing down. The stars around him, Kvaratskhelia, Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, Vitinha and Bradley Barcola, are all entering the prime years of their careers. This is undoubtedly a squad capable of dominating and competing at the highest level in the Champions League for at least the next 3 to 4 years. And every deep European run also means another massive opportunity for Dembélé to reach the Ballon d'Or. Finally, and most importantly, he has completely transformed his football mentality. He is no longer the undisciplined kid skipping training sessions to stay home eating McDonald's like in the old days. At this moment in time, this man is living, breathing, and dedicating himself to football in a completely different way. But we also have to honestly face reality. There are always two sides to every coin, and there are genuinely massive question marks hanging over the darker side of this story. The ghost of injuries has never truly let him go. May 17th, Dembélé was forced off early once again because of a muscular issue. The Champions League final is only 13 days away. That is absolutely not a coincidence. It is the price paid when a body with an extensive injury history is forced to operate at the destructive intensity he currently plays with. and the other names in the Ballon d'Or race are still there, even if they are no longer present on the biggest stage of club football. But the 2026 World Cup is approaching, and that tournament will become an enormously powerful leverage point for them to completely turn the narrative around. That story is bigger than anything Dembélé can achieve at club level. So what is the reality? A Dembélé era of dominance is absolutely not guaranteed, but it is entirely possible, and football has never needed certainty to become magical. It only needs great possibilities like this. And finally, this is the core message I want you to carry with you after this video. Ousmane Dembélé is not simply the story of a talented footballer, because talent is something football has never lacked. He represents something entirely different. This is the story of a man with all his bad habits, humiliating failures, endless injuries, and moments where the entire world crossed out his name, who somehow managed to discover the greatest version of himself at the exact age when many players begin thinking about slowing down. And now, he stands only one match away from a second Ballon d'Or. If he achieves it, if PSG win the Champions League on May 30th, and Dembélé stands in the Cathedral of Budapest, holding the silver trophy in his hands, then this story will transcend sport itself. It will become a priceless lesson you could one day tell your children about the meaning of never surrendering to destiny. That is why, whether you are a PSG fan or not, whether you love him or hate him, you will remember the name Ousmane Dembélé long after he retires. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.